Welcome everybody back to another CSE Issuer Update clip. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by American Aries CEO Josh Bruni. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about his company, what they're doing to promote their product suite, and some of the plans they have for the future. Thank you so much for joining us, Josh. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to have you and to learn more about the company. I should mention that the company stock symbol is Wi-Fi, listed on the CSE. And Josh, let's just talk a bit about what we just mentioned in our green room chat, which was you just got off a plane, you were in Europe for a few weeks. What were you doing? What were you seeing? And I assume this had to do with you building out your company.
Yeah, we have our production facility is actually based in Europe, and so I had the opportunity to visit with the team there, do a lot of R&D there as well. And so my visit was I had a little fun. But it was mostly focused on work, and we also have a strong investment community there. So I had the chance to meet some of the shareholders there.
Before we get into more of the future plans for the company, let's take a step back. Let's just share with people who may not know Aries Tech all that well. What is it that you guys do? What's the technology that you guys are building this company on? And we can get into some of the more some of the aspects of how you're building out the relationships to promote this product, but let's get back to the technology at the heart of this.
Yeah, I appreciate you actually labeling it as a technology, because a lot of times we get pushed into this idea that we're a product, but that the heart of our product actually is a very powerful technology. And so the core of our team and where the company originates from is a team of engineers and scientists that are passionate about this problem that we solve, which is really modulating electromagnetic radiation in a really controllable way, in a tunable way. And so we've developed this silicon-based resonator that essentially neutralizes the harmful effects of man-made radiation. So we're talking about like 5G, we're talking about Wi-Fi, we're talking Bluetooth, all these different electromagnetic fields that create disturbances within biological organisms. And so our product neutralizes that effect and essentially harmonizes those fields to match the body's field or other biological organisms.
There's always an origin story to these technologies, why they've been developed. But in your own mind, why was this an important solution you had to bring to market?
I think if you go back in time, the use of electromagnetic fields to manipulate them in certain ways has been a field of research for a really long time. I mean, this is how we transfer data from tower to tower is through these electromagnetic waves. And prior to kind of the early years, we're talking like 100 years ago, the idea of using the body's electromagnetic field to heal itself, to harmonize itself, has been a field of research for a really long time. As a matter of fact, I just listened to this podcast with the gentleman from Neuralink on there talking about his first project was a very similar technology to ours to heal wounds, essentially using electromagnetic fields. And so this idea around wellness and the application of electromagnetic fields has been around for a really long time. And, I think our original team was really passionate about that and really trying to understand that. And I think with a few, at bats and a few strikeouts, before they got to where we are today, they're really refining the product, the technology, and then the advancements in technology have really accelerated, what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, and I can't ignore the sports metaphors anymore. You obviously have significant partnerships that you've announced in the last few months with the UFC, with WWE, Basketball Canada. I mean, there's a huge tie in here with athletes. And so
yeah,
for a two-part question, how did those come about? But why were athletes your sort of, lightning rod for this product? Why is this the sharp tip of the spear?
Yeah, I don't want to say it's because I'm fulfilling my own inability to be a professional athlete. But there's definitely, I do get excited about working with these, high performance humans. This is what happened. We saw something emerge in our data, which was a large percentage of athletes were buying our product. There was one in particular, I won't mention his name because, we don't have an official agreement with this gentleman, but let's just say he's a Super Bowl MVP. And we were shipping a ton of product to this person. And it just kind of struck me like, that's really interesting. And then the more that I kind of paid attention, the more that I realized, okay, that he's not the only one talking about managing his exposure to electromagnetic radiation and using it as a way to optimize performance and recovery. And so, a little bit more time had went by, and more of these athletes started coming out, talking to us, wanting, to learn about the product. And it became clear to me that we're talking about people that are always on the cutting edge, always on the cutting edge of performance. They're always trying to find ways to get an edge. And our product became one of those tools within their toolkit, their overall toolkit of improving performance, or with the intent to improve performance, intent to improve recovery. And then the other third piece that I see a lot, especially with basketball players, is really trying to find ways to calm down the mind, the anxiety, and just dealing with the schedule, social media. One thing about basketball players is it's one of the sports where you really develop this intimate relationship with the player, because you see them, you're closer to them when they're playing. They're on a smaller, scale play area. And that, I think what we've learned in talking with them and working with them has been the additional anxiety in this sport seems to be different than the other ones that we deal with. So the idea of like, okay, how can I calm my mind down? And is the cell phone affecting me in that way? And so we've done some cool demonstrations. We haven't pushed out that content yet, but at some point, you'll start to see some content around, how does a cell phone next to your head excite the brain in a certain way that maybe triggers these or exacerbates these conditions? And then how does our product then neutralize that? So all these different applications, but I would say the general theme is creating a foundational piece to your overall wellness strategy, your overall performance strategy. So that is kind of the genesis with the athletes. The last thing that I'll add is really there were two groups of people that emerged, which was people that I would put kind of they're not feeling well, but a kind of an extreme version of not feeling well. And then people that are like on the complete opposite end of like human performance and optimization. And the people that aren't feeling well aren't as good of examples to the rest of the public, maybe as the elite performer is. And so we started to seek out, these partnerships, these relationships. And so far, everyone that we've partnered with and have come to us and will continue to release over time these partnerships and relationships and collaborations that we're doing. But most of them have happened organically.
Yeah, that endorsement, if it's organic, is profound, because they're using it because it's improving their performance and their ability to cope with their job, which is, as you said, it's high intensity. We just got through the Olympics, and it's a crucible of tension and stress, and any edge you can take in this sport, high level sport. I can appreciate that. Even the sleep. I've seen the sleep wristbands. I've seen everything Tom Brady's put out there, and it evolves. You get the best, and then the next best comes along, and they have a completely different regime and way of training that just elevates everybody, right?
Well, and you see like Novak, the elite tennis player of our time, he wrote about EMF exposure and how he manages it in his book. Tom Brady has a part in his book. Aaron Rodgers famously last year was wearing the wired headphones, and people made fun of him. And he talked about not frying his. So you're seeing it happen, and it's playing out, and people are going on record about it, but in a very, I would say, socially acceptable way, where sometimes this conversation can take you to areas of I would say conversation that I think people start to get nervous about, right? And so these athletes and these leagues that we partner with, they're curious, and they're looking for ways to optimize athletes, to improve training, improve results. And so that's where the alignment with us and what we're doing, and we're very focused on research too, and the ability to use these athletes as the extreme user is such a great platform for us to further our research, further our development, and to tell our story in a really cool way.
No, I appreciate that. Just to be clear, the form factor, just talk about how this product integrates with end user.
Yeah, good question. And I would add that, we talk about it as the product today because we have really built the business around the idea of this consumer-based product. However, if you go and you look at our research, which is all available on our website, you'll find probably over 40 studies on there. Many are peer reviewed, many are published. You'll find our patents on there, full, all this transparency around how we do it, what we do. You're going to find a lot around like bees and how we've done a lot with agriculture. Bees is a really fascinating category for me of how this technology can be applied, being that they're extremely sensitive to environmental stressors, and EMF being a major concern for bees and bee colonies. So we've done a lot of work in that area. And so as we think about our technology, how it's applied, where it's applied, it is broad. And so you will see, not just kind of the human aspects and applications, but you'll also see these agriculture and livestock and all. So you'll see these other opportunities. So when it comes to form factor, the basis of it is this silicon-based resonator, which is essentially a microchip. And within that, there's it's designed in a certain way that it creates this response that we're after. I won't spend too much time on the technical aspects of it. And so then beyond that, you see a larger kind of antenna around it. I call it an antenna, but it really is just like a printed circuit board. And that essentially captures and controls the environmental, the radiation that's present in the environment, and then creates this response within the resonator that then what that does is create a field of interference. And that interference is what neutralizes the waves that are around us through canceling them out, or amplifying the positive ones, because there are positive electromagnetic fields as well. And so, that's how I typically say our product is tunable, and it's based upon the different frequencies that we want to interact with. And so the form factor can be different sizes, all the way down to like a small coin. And that's where we see, potential application to be integrated into technologies, because the closer it is to the source of radiation, the smaller it can be. And it gets super thin and small. Like you could put it into virtually any device that you have without changing the schematics of it, because it's that small. And then all the way up to some, bigger ones that I would say are the size of maybe a phone, but they're still really thin. And the only thing that changes is the proximity to the source, or to the thing that you're trying to neutralize. So like if I'm trying to protect, let's say, a small baby, then it would be close to the small baby, or it could be close to, let's say, your router. It could go either direction. And so the only thing that changes is the size of the area that it's protecting. And so you'll see a different shape form factor based upon the power that it has.
Interesting. Yeah. I assume that you got to be discreet in some cases, and people don't want to add more digital weight to their daily load, I suppose. And at the same time, this solves a real problem, which is, you're just exposing yourself to all sorts of signals that maybe at this point in time, we don't know what the long-term impact is. In my lifetime, we just, I didn't have a cell phone growing up. We didn't have a lot of this stuff buzzing around.
That's part of the conversation right now. And I would say if those that want to do, their own research, it's going to take you probably 2 clicks before you realize that the scientific community is, I don't want to say split, but they are leaning towards EMF creating problems that are not fully understood. And there are quite a few notable researchers. I would say the one that comes to mind right away is Andrew Huberman from Stanford. Recently published a podcast almost solely about the negative effects of having the cell phone in your pocket, specifically for men, its effects on testosterone and the reproductive system in general, as well as, the effects on women, breast tissue, and the reproductive system. And so you're seeing more and more high-profile people talk about this, mostly because we have more data and we have more time in market to say, okay, now we start to understand the long-term effects. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, still like, okay, we don't really have a really long-term study. And so more and more being done. But there's been over 25,000 studies submitted to the World Health Organization. And the one nice thing about today's world is you can go to like an app like Consensus, which is an AI app that will aggregate all of the studies and give you the sentiment score of the studies. Say, okay, this looks like it's potentially, you can ask a question like, are EMFs harmful? And it will then tell you like, okay, 72% likely based upon the 200,000 studies or whatever. So tools like that have become really, really popular for this topic because you can aggregate such large amounts of information.
Yeah, Josh, it sounds like there's a tremendous amount of research one can do before they take a step into the world of this EMF products. Someone who wants to do more research on the company itself, American Aris, where would you first recommend they go to get more details?
If you want to learn more about our technology, we make it pretty easy. We throw a pile of information out there, and I would say, both as a consumer or someone that's looking for an investment, I would look at the technology. I would look at the patent, our most recent patent, which I'm really proud of and excited about, which is a global patent on the function of the product and protecting biological organisms. I get really excited about that one because there's a lot of work that went into that. There was, not only just the patent process, but there was a lot of research that was then submitted along with that patent. That research was also peer reviewed, published, and presented at a very respectable conference as well. And so that's really a good place for people to start and get comfortable with the technology and what it is that we do and the problem that we solve. And I would start there. And there's more research anyone who wants to know on the product. It's there, and most people don't go through it all, but I would encourage you to. And then after that, we do have an investor page if you want to look at from an investment standpoint. And I would we try to keep that updated. It should be fairly up to date. You can sign up for emails, and we do push out fairly regular updates on what's going on with the company, any PR that we have, but just general that's a way to interact with us as well as is on that investor page.
That's amazing. So again, the symbol is Wi-Fi, listed on the CSE, Canadian Securities Exchange. That's Josh Bruni, the CEO. And Josh, I'm going to wish you guys well. And thanks again for being part of the CSE family. And until then, until the next development, we'll talk to you very soon, I hope.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.